Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room. I'm Heather Kofka, and I'm an actor.
My name's John Williams. I'm a casting director.
And today we are in the room talking about Out for Delivery. And we're here with Chelsea Christer, writer-director. Chelsea Christer is a filmmaker with a passion for character-driven narratives, often exploring themes of identity, ambition, and human connection. Her feature-length directorial debut, Bleeding Audio, an award-winning documentary about the band The Matches, screened at nearly 20 film festivals, including Sundance, and was released to critical acclaim in 2022. She has since directed the narrative short Holding On Forever and the unscripted comedy series Nobody Asked for Dropout TV. Christer's latest project, Out for Delivery, premiered at Sundance 2025 and blends dark humor with real-life absurdity. She has also worked extensively in branded content, directing commercials and documentaries for Google, Adobe, and other global companies. Originally from Colorado, she began her filmmaking career in San Francisco and is now based in Los Angeles, where she lives with her husband and dog, Sagan. What kind of dog is Sagan?
He's a German Shepherd. And he's a very good boy.
Of course he is. They're all good boys.
Yeah.
I just want to start off giving you praise, and then we can get into it. The writing is so good. Every line, every line set up and joke worked, and then the shift into the car with the dramatic, I found myself laughing and giggling, literally almost every beat. It was so well written to handle. It's so hard to nail that darkness but still keep the comedy, and then the premise was just and so relatable. Everybody could relate. It was really incredible. So I've watched it a bunch, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then the physical comedy at the end, it was so good.
The physical comedy. I can't wait till I can't wait till people see it and then they go back and they remember John saying it's so relatable.
No, I mean the frustration. Yeah. Go ahead.
Get that. And I appreciate that, because I said that in an interview with somebody who actually hadn't watched the short and I think had only read the log line and was like, what do you mean end of life story is relatable? Because I said, I was like, I tried to make it relatable. And I was like, well, we all I wrote the comedy in this short Out for Delivery to mirror experiences that we all have, I wanted to honor her end of life experience while making everything that was situational comedic, and we all have those shipping stories, and that's what I was really trying to make accessible to people, is to recognize that the issue isn't necessarily the end of life care. The issue is the structures that are supposed to make our lives more convenient.
The juxtaposition of the two was incredible, and it's normally some sort of dramatic piece that's into life is everything's, the frustrations of life never really get in, and that's what was just so amazing. I was just you're just one, you're fucking kill me now, and you're wait, okay, it was so good.
You still brought in those moments of I have to start a portal for this, those frustrations that we're all experiencing in life right now, the absurdity of it, and when you're you handled it all with such skill, and it was fun. I felt entrusted in your hands for whatever reason while I was watching it, that it was going to be dark, but it was going to be fun, and I wasn't going to get hurt. I was this feels like it's going to be okay in some weird way.
Aw, thank you. Well, and that was kind of the goal too, is I clearly I'm a bit of a cynic and have a dark sense of humor, but I'm, kind of in spite of myself, want everyone to kind of have some sort of happy ending, I do somehow still believe in people. I know it's really hard in these times, but I just really felt like if we could show a character who is deprived of human connection and is like having their dignity taken away due to the structures in place that are just like depriving us of human connection and then return that to her at the very end, then, we'd have something that I feel like would tell a full story.
Oh, that's so beautifully put.
And to do it in short format, which is really, really hard.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the background, because I know this was based on sort of someone that you knew or a story that was real.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was loosely inspired by true events.
Well, you lost a
someone
package. No, I'm kidding.
I lost a package, and it was a very important one. I don't know why I'm still here. But no, I learned of someone who decided to pursue end of life care, and because of the pandemic and everything, they now like ship prescriptions and medications, and this was no exception. But it's supposed to be this like super controlled sign for package, overnight, literally a sticker on the package that says life or death situation. Um, and in the true story, the shipping company lost the package completely. And not only did they lose it, but customer service was extremely unhelpful. I think like the actual sentence that was told to me that the customer service person said on the phone was like, "Well, we don't have that service on Saturdays, so you're just gonna have to call back on Monday." And it's just like, do you not understand what's being like that lack of human empathy and like understanding of the situation was just so shocking to me when I heard the real story that I laughed, and I was like, "Oof, oh, where is that coming from? That felt bad. I shouldn't be laughing at this. This is the most tragic thing I've ever heard." And and that's
It's not like
really
you're gonna
yeah.
die if you don't get your package. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a second, or worse, you could live.
I'm surprised they didn't say,
So
"Well, you're gonna die anyway." Like,
right? I
yeah.
mean, honestly, like that's kind of where I feel like we've gotten to is like I think in the pandemic when we weren't allowed to see each other, we were able to connect through our phones, but now that's sort of created this veil where I feel like we aren't really seeing each other as full human beings anymore. And so
100%.
yeah, and that's kind of what I felt like I wanted to explore in this short was just like expressing how these structures that are supposed to make things convenience culture really are actually just making us less empathetic towards each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's where the story came from.
And so how long was the writing process to like production, and how long did the whole thing take, or how long have you been working on it?
Yeah, so normally, I feel like I would say a very long time and all of these things that are typical, but this is the fastest I've ever conceived and created something. And I attribute that to like my team. But I had the idea in April. I finished a shooting draft at the end of July. We shot in mid-August and I picture locked it that first week of September, just like squeeze it into the Sundance deadline like
Yeah.
Indiana Jones's hat. And then, I got the phone call in November and here we are. So,
Did you have to raise financing for it, or was it just one of those that like everybody chipped in, or?
yeah, so, everybody chipped in and, I didn't have time to raise money for it. And, I've been kind of talking with Deanna in particular, the lead actor in the film. We've been talking about doing scrappy, like let's just shoot something on a weekend, kind of storytelling. And so when I was writing this, I was kind of keeping that in mind of like, hey, if we have $0, how can we make this work? And so, as soon as our, co-lead, Martin Starr said yes, and he was like, I have this Sunday free. And so we spun up, production in 9 days, like everybody just chipped in and was like, hey, this is a fun script. Let's do it. So, it was just cost.
Did,
Um,
did you have all the locations? Did you guys use them, or I mean, like the van, like all that, everything? Was that like just you guys had
dude.
access to it, or?
So one of my producers, David B. Lyons, is a location manager for Abbott Elementary. And so he was talking to like his transpo team that he works with, and they happened to have a van free for us to use for the weekend, he also like helped us get the decals printed. And our gaffer actually also like we swapped out vans a couple of times. And so our gaffer let us like decal his van, and it was just, I mean, it again, like it was just a bunch of friends making a movie, and I had often criticized, when people say, "Oh, just like go make movies with your friends, you can just do it on a weekend, whatever." And often I think that's a fun idea, and it can be, it can work like this did, but I also think like, it's really challenging. But after all these years of like meeting so many wonderful, talented people who have become my friends and collaborators, like we all just pitched in together and made it happen, So, yeah, it was crazy,
And you
honestly. I
did
can't believe we did it.
you did just shoot it on a weekend?
Yeah, we shot it in 2 days.
That's awesome.
It was 17 pages in 2 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we didn't go much over the 12-hour threshold, Like I didn't wanna do anything too crazy, so it was just a matter of having to be very decisive on set.
Yeah.
How did you come across for the casting? How did you come across Deanna and Martin and everybody?
Yeah, I mean, so friends, Deanna and I were introduced a couple years ago. Some mutual friends of ours were like, we feel like you two would get along and have similar, sensibilities. And they were right.
Yeah.
We met for coffee, and I think we ended up, it was supposed to be like an hour coffee. We ended up talking for like 3 hours, and it was like we, became best friends overnight. It was like we had known each other for decades. It's crazy. It's one of those like cosmic friendships. And so I actually wrote the part entirely for Deanna. We've been developing a feature screenplay for a while and had been talking about trying to work together on a short, but the right story just hadn't, happened. And then when I had this idea, I was like, I'm just gonna write this for Deanna because I want to see them shine, like this is for me.
I mean, and
Um,
she nailed it. It's just like
Yeah.
yeah,
it just felt so natural. So does she? I guess she also
yeah,
has a dark sensibility as you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even darker, some would say, but that's how we balance each other out.
I mean, in her, yeah, we are gonna have her bio because she's gonna be on. But in something, I think it was the last line was like, Anne finds herself hanging out underneath strangers' cars.
Oh, yes, yeah. Deanna does a lot of work for Trap Neuter Release, and like helps the local communities with cats,
Got it.
and yeah, that's why you find Deanna under cars.
That makes sense now. Good.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, if you ever need advice on what to do, if you have a local cat portal where there are kittens just coming out everywhere, then Deanna is your person.
Okay. Good to know.
I mean,
Um,
I think we've all been there shooting stuff for free, and it's just it is so much work. But I think like you definitely people's hearts are so into it, that it usually it can create great stuff. But it is hard because where'd you get like how'd you get the camera? How'd you get the equipment? How did you get
Yeah, I mean, so my DP, Gavin and I have known each other for at least 10 years now, if not maybe a little bit longer. But Gavin did a couple days on my feature documentary. Arguably, he got some of the coolest days. I think he did the Mark Hoppus interview and the Nick Hexum interview. But he and I have just sort of always been in each other's circles, and most recently he shot the series I did with Dropout, Nobody Asked. And yeah, Gavin was also like Bay Area to LA, and he and I have been talking about shooting a short together because we've often done like unscripted or music videos. And so, I sent him the script and he was just like, "Yes, I want to do this." And so he pulled all his favors with his team, he got the camera, and we actually got to pioneer a new set of lenses, and he's going to kill me because I can't remember any of the technical specs of these lenses.
It's not your
But
job.
they
That's
look
his
really
job.
it's not my job.
Yeah.
But they looked really nice and it was really fun. And And so he was able to get us that lens set for free, so that we could actually, try them out for this company. So it was really great.
Yeah, the look
But yeah,
was
Score.
yeah, the look was great.
yeah,
Did you like try, since you not very, and directors I don't think have to be, right? They just have to be able to communicate the look that they want. Was there influence for
yeah.
this or for the look and stuff? Because it just had such a cinematic feel.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, there were a few different influences. One of them was Sometimes I Think About Dying. I don't know if you guys saw that feature with Daisy Ridley. But it was such like a nice, weird little uh, film, and it was shot in 4:3, which was something that I wanted to experiment with, but also just in terms of practicality, since we shot in literally just our shitty apartment and and stuff, we were like, well, we don't want to show too much of it. So I was like, 4:3 works narratively because I wanted her to feel a little bit more trapped, but also like aesthetically, it made sense because of our, budget and production limitations.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Sometimes I Think About Dying was a reference, and like Lars and the Real Girl was another reference in terms of just like the overall tone, kind of something a little bit like, defined color palette, but a little bit muted. So
Well, I'm super curious about you because I mean, you just seem to like have your own lane and your own like community and your own like like vibe going on. Like you seem to have a whole situation going on, right? But like where did that all start with you? Like have you always like where did you come from? Like, how are you made?
yeah. Oh god, I don't even know. I mean, I like community is so important to me. I really find that like having just like good humans in your orbit that you support and who support you is like really important. And I think now more than ever,
Yeah,
I,
for
I would
sure.
love to I would love to stop saying now more than ever. It just feels like it's the phrase ever since 2016.
Yeah, for sure.
But like it's God, I don't even know. How do you distill how you, just, like, build your people, and have these humans around you? But, like, I know at least for this, like, it was just everybody just really circled around something, and wanted
Yeah.
to make it, and I think being some sort of, like, ringleader in that, as a director, you just want everyone to feel like they are enabled to, like, be their best, but also, like, I'm not one of those directors who, like, doesn't wanna hear your ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I think my favorite thing about filmmaking is that every department tells story through their specialty, right? So, like, with production design, like, when Linda, my production designer, came in and was kinda talking to me about the color palette and everything, she originally I had like a a cooler palette, in mind, and she kind of brought in some more oranges and hues and kind of talked me through why she felt like that would be, a good balance. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's great. That's such a good idea. Thank you." Like
Mhm.
I think that that's a great way to tell this story. And similarly, with Gavin and him just kind of talking about how we would light it, because I was like, oh, I want it to feel like very natural, very grounded. I typically, when I do commercial work or things that are a little more stylized, like I love a practical lighting gag, like I love
Mhm.
it. But we kind of talked about ways that we could maybe do that, and it just didn't feel right for the story. And he said, okay, well, here are my thoughts on how to light it. And it's just I don't know, it's just like I think I've been working professionally for like 15 years, and I think like when you work on set with people, you learn very quickly like
Mhm.
who are great collaborators and who are just nice to have.
Mhm.
And I just feel like
And then there's
yeah, I'm
clients.
just
Then
trying
there's
to do that.
clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god. Don't even get me started. But but yeah, it's like I don't know, like I love my people and I just want to make sure that they feel heard and taken care of. And and that we like can collaborate together. So
Yeah,
Did you always want to do this? Like be in this creative
yeah. Why San
space?
Francisco first and not LA?
oh,
I mean,
oh,
San
okay.
Francisco seems hard, I would think. Like,
Yeah, that's why I live in LA now.
yeah, yeah.
But no, I would say so. I grew up like in the middle of nowhere, on a ranch in Colorado. It was beautiful, and I got to hang out with animals. I love animals, but there was like no real culture or perspective,
Mm.
and so I definitely was seeking as like the only creative person in my entire family history. I was like definitely seeking, different perspectives and things that were not, in the middle of uh of nowhere. And so I had always been a storyteller, like as a kid I used to draw comics or write short stories or whatever. And then when I found film, I was like this is the greatest.
Mm.
So I knew very early, I think I was like 15 when I was like, I'm gonna be a filmmaker. So I moved to San Francisco for film school because it had this school called the Academy of Art, which was the affordable option at the time. I, of course, looked into USC and everything, and I mean, we all clutched our pearls. There was just no world in which we'd ever be able to afford it, or
Yeah,
even
yeah,
like even with student loans,
yeah.
like I,
It's
well,
true to this day. I don't know how
yeah,
anyone
I
goes to
just
USC.
I have no idea. It
Yeah.
sounds lovely.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah,
It's not in the best neighborhood, to tell you the truth.
yeah. There's that too.
I have driven past it and
Yeah.
had that thought where I was like, "Ooh, that would have been a tough campus."
Yeah.
And it's
Um,
funny. It's
but,
funny to think all these like probably rich, privileged people
Yeah.
going to like for their first time. It's probably a shock.
uh-huh. I am positive they don't live on campus, but but no, San Francisco was just incredible. It's like
Yeah.
I went and toured the school, and I was like, oh my gosh, like all these weird artists, like you can walk around and just sort of instead of people like judging you, they're like, oh yeah, like let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So I
wish
do
the
feel like
entertainment
San
industry
Francisco was
was
great.
in San Francisco, so it's such a great city.
Yeah.
Were your parents supportive, or was it like you were flying against the anything that they was it just so out of left field for them, or did they get behind it?
I think that they know that I don't give up very easily. So I think while they were worried that I was pursuing a career that was going to be inherently very difficult to achieve, like I think they were also like, well, she's not going to do anything else. So, they were supportive, but I think concerned,
Yeah,
Mm.
like, oh, well, maybe she'll just end up serving coffee forever. But no, they were supportive. Like no one prevented me from doing it. But definitely I would say they raised their concerns with me, and I was like, nah, I'll figure it out.
yeah.
Mhm.
So you moved
Uh,
to, you moved to LA. Like, what's your sort of like when you land? Did you have an opportunity, or did you just have to kind of come there and figure it out?
I mean, honestly, so my feature Bleeding Audio, it's a music documentary. I directed it while living in San Francisco, and I was like very adamant. I was like, I want to be a San Francisco filmmaker. I want this. And so I made the film in San Francisco. We did all of our post there, lots of San Francisco crew. Like it was a San Francisco movie. And then we had our world premiere on March 7th, 2020.
Oh god.
Yeah. And so after 6 years of like the hardest work I've ever done, like we premiered at the peak of a pandemic, and I was like, "Oh my god, like this movie almost killed me." And now like it's premiering and no one's going to see it because there's a pandemic and we already like blew our world premiere. And like what are we going to do? And so I think too, my husband and I were both kind of working, we called them dream adjacent jobs, where we were using our skills to pay our bills,
Mhm.
but we weren't really like happy in those roles, like I was doing a lot of like corporate brand documentaries, which, is like great money, great work. It was, I think, instrumental in like just giving me a very good understanding of what's essential on a set and what to capture as a director. Um, but it's like it's still advertising in a way, which isn't really something that I'm passionate about. And the same thing with my husband is like he's a concept artist and he was doing a lot of like mobile game stuff, and he's like, "I don't play video games. What am I
Yeah.
doing?" And we both, he used to be a touring musician also, and so, both of us were like, "Well, our entire friend group is in LA." And then when the pandemic hit, we also recognized like, "Oh, we're locked inside and our lives really haven't changed that much," you know? Like, we're just sort of locked inside now, you know?
Mhm.
Our all of our friends had, like, moved to LA or had left the Bay Area, and we were like, "Okay, you know what? We've been talking about this for years. Let's just do it." So as soon as we got our second shots, we, moved to, Los Angeles, and it was hard, It felt like a breakup for me because I love San Francisco so much.
Mm.
I think San Francisco is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and, I I tried I tried a lot of, like, the same sort of, "Hey, let's just make something on a weekend" mentality in San Francisco and just couldn't quite get the same traction, and I'm not trying to criticize the crew or anything there, like, there's so many wonderful people in San Francisco that I've collaborated with over the years, but, I think I just needed to change something, and the proximity to, like, you move to LA because you are obsessed with this life, this, like, career, this, like, storytelling, Like, I feel like there's just such a passion and a devotion to making that move, and those are the people who I found, when I moved here.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, it took a few years to, like, sort of shake off the pandemic and yeah, it's just been amazing ever since, honestly. Like, I'm really surprised at how much I love LA, especially because I moved to San Francisco because I love public transit and I didn't wanna drive anywhere. So being in LA is
Oh, Lord.
is a little challenging, but I'm on the East Side, so it's not too bad.
And so what was how's the response been in Sundance? How was that experience for you? And I know you're just at South by. Like, how's the reactions to the audience, and how's it been for you to get it out there?
I mean, it's been incredible. I mean, you make these things, you put energy into them, and then, like, exhibiting them in a theater where you can sort of, like, get that energy back from the audience, where they laugh where you want them to laugh, maybe they cry. That's been just incredible. It's just been outstanding. And, like, you never think it's actually gonna happen to get into Sundance, but, like, it it it's been yeah, it's been amazing. The, like, Sundance stamp of approval has just opened so many doors already that, like, I'm just so grateful, I'm so grateful to the programmers for programming us, for, like, the entire crew of, like, making this film, like, it's been crazy. But I have a kind of a long history with Sundance. I volunteered for the festival for a really long time. And so being able to kind of return to the festival as a filmmaker, was very, very special. But also I kind of like knew how Sundance worked, so I think it was less overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I went to South by, I've never been before, and it was incredible and it was so amazing, and I felt so like lost. And I'm like, oh, this must be how people feel when they go to Sundance,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and
So
now
I really want
Sundance
to go
is
to South by again.
now Sundance is coming back to your home state. It's like
I
moving
know,
to
I know.
Colorado.
It's good to
I
know
know, what the hell?
That's so crazy.
I left, guys, don't make
You're
me wanna
like
come back.
they're chasing you.
it's
Yeah.
good to know that Sundance still holds weight. I mean, I know for us as a filmmakers, and it does, but it's like I just feel like festivals don't have the impact that they used to, and I think that they've kind of all gotten a little bit corrupted as well. So you're finding it to be different as far as is it opening doors, or how's it helping?
Yeah, I mean, well, I went into the festival unrepped, and I have left repped, so
Nice.
that's
Congrats.
nice.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I've had a lot of general meetings that, I just otherwise, I had screened at so many other festivals with Bleeding Audio. I mean, we screened at Slam Dance, we screened at other places, and there's just like a marked difference in the outreach that came post Sundance. So I do feel like it still holds weight, and I do feel like like Sundance has gotten a lot more commercial over the years too. Like I can definitely see that, especially, when you have like A-list people in a narrative competition. Sometimes you kind of question like is this really independent?
Yeah,
But
it's
like
like marketing took over, Like it's like the marketing department
yeah.
took over. I mean, I've been going to Sundance for, decades, and it used to just be like if you got stuck outside in the cold and you were like, how, and you're sitting there with people and you're like, how are we going to get back to the house? Like, and it was like random, real like underground parties. And it was so much fun, like just so much fun.
Yeah.
And then you go now and it's like Absolute Vodka and Google and da-da-da, it's just crazy. It just feels like advertising as it does just like took over. And independent film is like way in the background.
Like, I can definitely see that, but I also do feel like there's all that flashiness, but then when you go to programs like or at least, like, the next program for me is always something that inspires me because I feel like those are all the, like, underground filmmakers that are trying
Mhm.
something new narratively, and, like, the international programming is always so good at Sundance too, and the thing for me is, like, I also volunteered for the Sundance Labs, one summer, and, what they're doing with the institute, supporting artists and nurturing artists in that platform in that way, I mean, that's how it started, right? Was the Sundance Institute, the Sundance Labs was, like, the initial, like, conception of, like, what Sundance Institute would be, and, you know, I I do feel like the festival is, like, the financier for those labs, so I'm like, "Be as commercial as you want," because I have seen what Sundance is really about at those labs, just supporting them, and it's like, it's really cool,
I mean, a lot
like,
of
I
what
fully
Heather's done,
fully
right?
endorse it.
I think what the jobs that
Yeah.
the Sundance films you've been in, a lot of them went through the lab, right?
Yeah, that's true. They
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
yeah. And a lot of it's really supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say about it. It's really supportive. I took a
Yeah.
weird trip back in my mind there where I wrote a screenplay and almost got in to the I got to the
You did
final.
second round?
Yes. And then I
Uh,
hadn't finished, it was right before Y2K and we were living in LA, and
yeah,
I was just writing, right? And then I was like, "Oh, I'll
yeah.
just throw it in there for shits, whatever. I probably won't get anywhere." And they were like, "Yeah, send us the next thing," and I was like, "Oh, wow, God, I don't have an ending. I haven't finished." And so then I kind of was like, and you kinda just, like, throw up an
Yeah.
ending of, like, "This is how it's gonna end, ah!" And then I think it just maybe was like I just maybe rushed it or something.
Got it.
I don't know. Or
Yeah, we got our yearly rejection letter this year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, we've been in a few
uh.
times, but yeah, it's it's your, congratulations because it's not easy to do.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try and submit for the labs this year, and I anticipate another rejection letter as I've always gotten, but who knows? Maybe now I'm a little more of a blip on the radar.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, uh, yeah,
What is up next? What is your next thing you're trying to do?
yeah, I conceived Out for Delivery as a short, I didn't really think of it as a feature, but there has been a lot of interest in it as a feature, and at first I was very reticent to, like, kind of, you know, pursue something longer because I do kind of feel like if you solve it with a short, like, don't overstay your welcome with a feature.
Mhm.
But, there's just so much unexplored, I think, especially with how people in the United States handle grief and death. Like, I just feel like we don't have a great cultural foundation to talking about those hard things. And so, I would love to kinda keep that dark comedy spin going, but to also, like, maybe explore more about, like, that death process, that grieving process, in that sort of comedic way. The, like, kinda the one line concept for the feature is really just what if the medication does take up to 15 hours? What can we show more about this friendship and this human connection and how these characters can influence each other at, like, what can be conceivably, like, end of life, but also maybe the beginning of life for this other character who's in a rut, you know? So,
Mhm.
um, and, I had some ideas for it, and South by Southwest, like, I mean, we were so wrapped up in all the, like, press stuff and all the screenings and all the chaos of it all, but, like, I got a really good opportunity to just sit down and talk to my actors. Both Martin and Deanna were at South by, and, they're both really interested in continuing to explore these characters in feature forms, so, I would love to keep doing that. I have a loose outline right now, I'm trying to, like, refine it a bit more, we've been doing a lot of festivals, so I haven't really had a lot of time to just sit at my desk. So I'm hoping to be able to, through April, get a really strong outline and start actually getting some pages in, because I think it'd be really fun to pursue this as a feature, and see what else, what other industries and things I can try and take down through satire, US healthcare system,
Ooh, I
being
like
one
the
of them.
sound of that.
Yeah. That could
Please.
be, yeah. I would love to live in that world more with these guys. It'd be awesome. I mean, it's so much fun.
So would I.
Yeah.
But I think she's at an interesting crossroads, because I often see this moment where you have these two brilliant actors and you want to carry on with them, but for whatever industry reasons, you recast. And I see
Mm,
that time and time again, especially leaving festivals like
mm,
Sundance, where
yeah,
there's either the money that comes into play, or the people who are now funding, or the what have you.
right.
There's a pressure to recast someone a little bit more recognizable, to get eyes on the film. I feel like we're still having that conversation, and
Yeah,
I wonder where the power of the filmmaker, to stick with the people that they want.
Or the path, right? Or I mean, definitely, I don't think the pre-sale thing still is as much so the value of the actor, but I mean, exposure, I think, is what it's shifted to, because I think
Yeah.
all the incidents you're talking about, it was like about return of investment,
Sale,
right?
yeah,
About sales.
mm,
And so I think the conversation's changing because that formula no longer works.
right,
But I think there
mhm.
is uh, this sort of push to find the biggest name, because that's going to get the most exposure.
right.
I mean, where are you? Because we were talking a little bit about earlier, with the state of things. Like, what are some of the ideas you have to go down that path and get a feature done and not be pressured by whoever's I mean, or allowing you to do it sounds horrible, but that's kind of the position we all get in.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, I get it. Bleeding Audio, we got $0, from anybody outside of Kickstarter, right? Like, that was a fan-funded film. I did 2 Kickstarters. I also paid for a lot of that film with my savings account. Don't recommend that one, though. But, like,
Yeah, I usually mortgage the house is what I
Yeah,
do.
stop,
Yeah.
yeah, right?
John.
How many times can you mortgage a house,
Yeah.
really?
Now that I can't get a
Um,
credit card, I just mortgage the house. So,
Kids,
yeah.
don't listen to
yeah.
John Williams. Don't.
No. But I guess, like, if there's anything that Bleeding Audio taught me, is that, like, I understand why people quit is because it's so hard. Like, that film, the only reason why that film exists is because I was surrounded by people who supported me, but also, like, there were so many outs and I just wouldn't allow it to happen. I was like, this film is going to be finished. I don't care. It's going to be finished. And knowing that about myself, and like, and wanting to tell stories and to tell stories that I believe in, like, there's very little that I'll compromise on. Like, I have witnessed, I I I have witnessed a lot in, like, the corporate world, and a lot of, like, and I've already, like, made the compromises that I'm willing to make as a person with integrity.
Mhm.
And I just kind of feel like, it would be a bigger conversation if I was asked to recast, but I'm also like, well, I also know that I have talented people who, if we raise a minimum amount, we can still make a really great movie, and that's all these people care about. You know what I mean? Is we care about having a good story that is well told. And if people don't believe in who we have as, like, the cast, even though we've already proven that it's really great, then, well, I guess you're not the right person to fund this movie.
Yeah,
Like, we'll go to crowdfunding if we have to,
I mean, I think
like,
we're
yeah.
yeah.
I think we're at this juxtaposition where it's like that is the path, or there is this new path that, because it's like, I forget who it was that just had a film that got canned that he was really proud of, and he was really upset, and it got shelved. But it's like, if you're not IP that's like, huge, or a remake, it's like that's all those guys are doing. So it's like, let's just change this conversation. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I see from all the filmmakers I know, and what we're talking about is like there has to be another way.
there has to be another way. I also think this
Yeah.
whole tired model of, like, it seems like they see someone coming like her, right? And they see you at Sundance and they're like, "We love what you're doing. And now we're not going to let you do any of that." Like,
Yeah.
we're going to make it really hard for you to do what you just did the way that you do it, because that's not how we do it. So you can't do it like
and
that.
then-
You can't possibly have these two unknown actors. You can't possibly shoot with this kind of a thing. You can't possibly have that DP. Like, then they just don't let you do the things that you just did that drew them to you in the first place. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever, but it's a battle we've been fighting forever. And they do it to filmmakers.
Yeah.
And in the end, it happens
Yeah.
to actors too. It's like you just get cut down to where you're just like molded into this thing that is no longer what the people who were watching loved you for.
Yeah.
As they sit there and noodle their guitar and say, "You want a cappuccino?
Yeah. It's
You want a
just-
croissant?"
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
insanity of it
Yeah.
all.
Did you see the view?
Yeah.
Did you see the view? You know, and it's like, dude, you've never made, you know, it's, I mean, I don't want to, like, there's probably great people in the industry.
There are.
Yeah, but
There are.
it's like, dude, like
I
you said,
see-
you would have killed yourself to get your documentary out. And that, I hear that and have been in that position as you have, is like, we almost kill ourselves and, you know, lose so much life and money and, you know what I mean? And it's like, you're noodling a guitar looking out a window,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I'm
like,
speaking about an incident, like a specific incident.
Yeah, I was like, this sounds like a very specific trauma that you.
he's been
you
some
wanna share with
strange. He's been in some strange rooms.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, but like, I know great people, and like, if money is the only defining factor, like, I know great people who, you know, we can work together to try and make something happen. You know, but yeah, it's we'll see.
I mean,
you
you're
know,
building
we'll see what
you're building a
happens.
brand,
Yeah.
right? You're building and it's like taking that mentality. You're building a brand. People know you for your docs. They know you for your shorts, and it's like that's your audience. And so,
And to some extent, we have to find this power in us that realizes that to some extent, I think we're going to get to a point where truly we don't necessarily need them.
yeah, that's what I see happening. It's
Because
like,
we have the power all here. We have the tools all here, and we have the ability to reach the audience all here. We just have to find a way to take it and own it and
Monetize a little bit.
steamroll that. You know, we
Yeah.
really do.
No, I just had Lucas on here, and he got 20 million views for his short, and I was like, dude, if you would have charged them a quarter,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and if we, I mean, you know, who can't
Like,
afford a quarter to you know, to
watch your-
support you,
yeah.
right? They do it.
Yeah.
You do it on crowdfunding. It's just like, let's just figure out that equation, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the tricky part, right? Is because I feel like, you know, this happened to the music industry too, where you have this digital distribution model, which is
Exactly,
like,
yep.
oh,
So
we
bad.
like put the power in the artist's hands, but it's not, because it's the people who own the digital distribution model that have the power,
Yep.
right? They get to decide how it monetizes. And, you know, I think like legislation was a big part of that for the music industry, you know, like the Music Modernization Act was only like signed into law in like 2018. And even then, like, all the platforms appealed it except for Apple, you know? And like, and that was going to raise like streaming royalties by 40%. I think it's still locked up in Congress, you know, like they still aren't doing anything about it, you know? And it's just like, I see no difference in what's happening to like, you know, these studios that are creating their streaming platforms. They're like, oh, well, this is a different form of media. It's not actually television, but we're still going to win Emmys for it. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's this like contradiction of like, oh, how can we justify like filtering money through to the creators differently? And that's where I see digital distribution being a problem. You know, like there are platforms like Patreon, I think, that are trying to give that more direct to fan, like, you know, support model, but it's not necessarily, you know, it's so diverse in like the creators that are on that platform that like it's not necessarily like some consolidated effort for, you know, filmmakers or musicians, you know,
we
like
need an actor or
yeah.
filmmaker to be like, hey, this is my platform, you know, and I think, you know, to your point earlier, like I would have killed myself. I think all of us have seen, and I've seen it, especially with actors, it's like, well, if they want this dream, they want to do this, they should do anything no matter what, right? And that's kind of been the hierarchy is like, you know, if you don't jump that high, you'll never make it, you know? And it's like, dude, I don't need to jump for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I think like the bigger issue that no one's really talking about is that it's a consumer problem, is like the way that we consume and take in our entertainment and our art is like socialized to being like we're entitled to it instead of we're investing in it, right? It's like we no longer invest in a CD or record collection,
That's
right?
right.
We are now entitled to like, oh, what's the new thing? And you just listen to it for your like subscription service. You're not actually feeling that like investment in like your catalog. You know, there's
That's right.
this lack of tangibility of like, oh, this is the thing that same thing with like a DVD collection, is like, oh, I love this film. Oh, well, is it on streaming? Well, I guess I'm not going to watch it. It's like, it's that same mentality of like, I'm entitled to it and therefore it should be available to me,
That's such a
and
good point.
You know what, Chelsea?
it's
why
really
we're all
bad.
depressed too.
Yeah.
No, it
it's
really
like
is
we're not.
facts. It is because we don't invest any energy into the thing. So there's no like we don't feel the the weighty excitement of it
Yeah, I mean, how many
anymore.
times have
There's
you
no
been-
preciousness to any
The
of it.
preciousness.
It's so
Yes.
gone. Like because
we
you
don't
can
think
have
about the
anything all
artist.
of the time. It's just like blah, 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 just feed me, just consume, consume, consume. Nothing tastes as good as when you saved up all day for that one day when records were released
or movie.
Mhm.
and you knew that new
Yeah.
Radiohead album was coming out on Thursday and you couldn't wait, right, to hear what
Mhm.
it was. And like you went down there and you got it and you took it home and you listened to it and you're just like, oh my God. I saw this guy on
Yeah.
TikTok recently and he was like, how did you guys, I don't understand. How did you know what the new song was going to sound like when it came out if you didn't have the thing? And people were answering back and they were like, yeah, man, we had to wait till we got home from school and then
Yes.
listen to the radio and hope that artist's new song got played. And then if we wanted to hear it again, we had to wait until it came on again and run and press record so that we could play it again and make mixtapes and stuff like that. Yeah, it was like intense and precious and like you had a relationship with it that you don't have now.
Exactly. It just engages your brain in a different way. It's like that whole like lack of empathy and human connection that I just find is like systemic in today's digital society, Like I feel so strongly that it's like stripping us of so much joy because we just are like, oh, we'll just watch the like new thing, Like the thing, for example, I talk a lot about the music industry because I did a lot of research for it, obviously for my feature doc. But like when it comes to the film industry too, I think about like, oh, we like Netflix taught us that we can just sit and binge a show, but like our brains just aren't engaged when we're like consuming media like that. So it's just like you don't like I have to be reminded like all the time of like, wait, what happened in this again?
Yeah.
Whereas like, even HBO just releasing stuff week by week, like White Lotus and stuff, there's a cultural
Makes-
conversation around it.
Such
We're
good
like
point.
Such a
days, we're
difference.
Yes,
about it,
such good
and
points.
it's different, and it's like, but also, we aren't thinking about the creators as much anymore. I mean, we are now. Like, look at Severance on Apple TV releasing week by week. This is like one of the most engaged I've ever seen audiences in like since Lost. I feel like
Mhm.
where people are actually like talking about a show, talking about like the mysteries behind it. Is like. I mean, I guess maybe Game of Thrones, but I feel like Game of Thrones was pretty straightforward, whereas like Severance was a mystery. But like, there's just this, we're not like willing to invest anymore. And it's just like, I think that's like why studios are only investing in things that they know is like tried and true, like because the consumers
That's
aren't going to
failing,
the
but that's
theaters,
failing as well now.
That is
Yeah.
failing now.
100% agree. But like look at like what has won Oscars for like the last 5 years running. Like,
I mean, it's always been
how
that
are
way.
studios not
Yeah.
waking up to it?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do they not see? Oh, like these are winning.
I feel like they're
and
so confused.
Well, the A24. I mean, why
Yeah.
not look at the success of A24 and say like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that they built something amazing. Let's try to duplicate that. I also, to your point, like I find, I think, and I'm to blame for this, is I'll look through Netflix and I'll be like, there's nothing I want to watch, and it puts you in that
Right.
complacency.
But also, like, I hate the way it's brought to you. Like, it's so,
Yeah.
like, I was telling my husband this the other day. I was like, I envision myself like, the old lady knitting on the porch and the whatever, but like having just all this time to be able to open up some sort of platform that is, it's like a Dewey Decimal System or like a fucking card catalog or something where it
Yeah.
looks nice, right? But it's just got like the DVD cover of whatever the movie is. It's all in alphabetical order. There's just like a little picture, a little picture of the DVD cover with a little description of what the movie is about and the title. And I can just scroll through that catalog catalog. It's all in alphabetical order. And I can just go through, maybe it's by year, like go back to the 50s and watch all 50s movies or whatever. And I just want to be able to choose movies that way and just watch them that way. Because you put me on the Netflix homepage and it's like whatever's biggest. I'm like, does that interest me? No, it doesn't. What are the little things on this bar?
Well, and
None of those
but
interest
your
me. And then
bar-
by then, my ADHD is just like, I'm lost. I forgot why I'm here. What was I watching before?
Yeah.
Oh, this looks like something I can brain rot for 5 seconds.
Well, and fuck them, because your bar is different than my bar.
Right?
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
bar
right.
is catered to like,
Yeah.
yeah. Or it's
And
like,
if my kids have been on my Netflix
the
account,
bar-
I'm fucked.
then the whole bar's different
Yeah.
entirely. Yeah. It's
like,
like,
would you like to watch Bluey with more Bluey?
yeah. And I can't,
Um,
I don't have the bandwidth at that point to go digging and curating and through all the media and everything, because all of the media and everything my brain has been filtering through for the 12 hours previous in my day, because now I can't just show up to the doctor and the receptionist has filled out, done all the paperwork and I walk in, because I had to do it 2 hours before in the portal, at myself. Like, we all have to do our own life admin all the damn time for everything. Going to the gas station is like a conversation with the machine about whether I want a car wash or not, and whether I want to, do you remember your code for whatever? I mean, my brain is so maxed out that somebody once said, I don't know if it was Bajowski or whoever it was, sometimes I just want to walk up to the movie theater and look at the marquee and go, I want to see that. Can I get a ticket for that? And then just buy the ticket. Like, I get so frustrated by having to go to AMC's fucking website or whoever it is and then start a fucking account, and then I got to answer all these questions, and then I got to choose my seat, and then I got to I got to answer a survey and put in my email. Stop. Can I just walk up and buy a ticket?
I'm so old. I used to have to check times in the paper.
Or call movie phone? Call movie phone? The movie times for today are.
Or call. Like, I'd have to call the theater and be like, oh, what time is it? And then, we'd have to drive like 40 minutes to like get to the movie theater. If it was like an outing, like if we were going to the movie theater where I was growing up.
But they all have it under the guise of like, it's our convenience. And it's not. It's just cluttered our brain to the point to where we can't even relax enough and take in our like culture. Like, we need to have art and culture coming in instead of all this like politics, news, blah, 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 blah noise. We need to have culture in our lives, and we don't have any room left for it because they've taken every second and filled our brain with all this other stuff that we're doing. And it's just,
this is why it's so important what you did with your friends, is that everyone thinks that if you make something, it needs to have some type of like return of value. And it's like, no, the value is the thing you made.
The thing they did that day.
Yeah.
Those 2
the
days.
journey along the way, right?
No, for real.
I mean, it's getting so bad, I might start reading books.
Hey, don't, John. Whoa. Revolutionary. Woo.
What's that?
It's not a book.
It's a Kindle.
Read on your Kindle instead of an actual book. Is that what you
I don't know where you get an actual book these days, so.
I don't know where you get a Kindle. Come to my house.
I know.
My husband.
But no, I completely agree. And I think like it's worth acknowledging that like with like the democratization of these tools and the fact that there is like so much, like it's so much easier to make stuff now, like there are voices that are being heard that would otherwise not be heard or supported. So like that is something that I feel like is kind of amazing about like, this digital era is like, oh, now like, somebody who wasn't privileged enough to go to USC and, get a film degree there and be connected by all these people. Now they can like make something on their iPhone and put it up on YouTube, like Sean Baker made Tangerine on his iPhone. He's like, well, fuck you guys. This is a movie I want to make and I'll just shoot it on an iPhone, whatever, and I think that there's like a power in that of just like knowing, I think like, the tools are making it more accessible for everybody, but you still have to foundationally know how to do something very well, and it's like I do feel like this iterative like convenience world that like you were just venting about too, like I feel it too. All of us feel it, all of us just we don't want to be led around, we want to explore, like that's just human curiosity, right? Is like I've been mentioning it a lot because I feel like there is some foundation of this tone in the film, but, like, Kurt Vonnegut's always been one of my favorite authors, and, he has that quote where he talks about how humans are just here to fart around, and we're, like, not allowing ourselves to do that anymore. We're,
Yeah.
like, now, like, "Oh, well, whatever, just, like, solve it, like, on your computer, and then you'll have more time to do what? Look at your computer?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why not just go to I live really close to Vidiot's, which is a movie theater and a video, like, rental store.
Yeah.
the best one probably
Yeah.
in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, I get to go and I get to fart around in Vidiot's and, like, look at videos, like, tangibly that I
Yeah.
can rent, they even have an entire section that's just called "Not on Streaming,"
Oh, that's
know?
a great
And it's like
section.
and you get to go over there and you're like, "Oh my god, what are these?" I learned through I won't name the source, but apparently somebody has a bootleg copy of a film that they got when it was submitted to their very big festival, and they donated that bootleg copy to Vidiot's, and it's not available anywhere else. So if you
It's
can find
awesome.
whatever it is, it's like there it is at Vidiot's, and it's like I miss the video store. I miss being able to curate
Oh,
my life instead of
Yeah.
having an algorithm curate my life.
I
you
mean, just
know?
hoping the video was there at Blockbuster. Like, God, I hope they still have it.
Right?
And then going up to the desk, did anyone return it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking
Like,
of
can you
of
call
fart,
me when
Yeah.
it's in?
yeah, when it's
Yeah.
speaking of farting around, what's going on your desk? Do you do a lot of art
Oh,
or?
God. Oh, so let me see. No, I just have a messy desk. We're in the process
It
of
actually
moving
looks
stuff.
really
Yeah,
organized.
it's really organized.
That's because I literally did the rug shove where, like, everything
You're like,
here
"This
that
is
you
out of
can't
frame."
see below the
Yeah.
camera,
yelling,
like,
yelling,
maybe
yelling at your husband. Get in here!
Yeah.
Help me!
Yeah.
oh god, no, he could never.
You're not
No,
wearing
like,
pants, are you?
I
It's like
no, sweatpants. But no, he's a musician and an artist, so that's, like,
Okay,
what all that stuff is over there. So that's,
awesome.
like,
nice.
his monitors, and he's got his Cintiq and stuff, and then this is my desk where I just sit and write, I guess. I moved I have all my notes and my notebooks and my reference books that I just, pushed out of frame so I didn't look like too much of a loon, but then I've got all this here that's not quite not
So
quite
it's all
clean.
planning for your next thing, right?
I literally every time I try and sit down, I end up cleaning something, and so this last week, my husband and I have been doing, some serious spring cleaning. Um,
Yeah,
and
me
so
too. That's why
once that purge is out, I'll
yeah.
be able to sit and write.
That's the kind of creative I am. I often tell my husband, I'm like, so many creatives are just like in a messy, you see them, they're a messy. I'm like a clean. I have to have everything be in its right place before I
Mhm,
feel like I can create, or I just have to get out of the house because the house is too much. Like it'll draw me away with like, you need to do this, you need to do that. So yeah,
mhm. I've been doing a lot of writing in coffee shops,
yeah,
and in LA, it feels so lame.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Sitting there, I'm like, "Ugh,
You're
that
like,
stereotype."
yeah,
I actually got, like, a screen protector because I was so embarrassed to be, like, lined up with, like, 4 other screenwriters,
yeah.
like, in a coffee and, like, "Don't look at me." You
Yeah, I
know?
used to go to the airport to work before 9/11. Like, for some reason, I was able to sue. Yes,
Oh,
I was sued there.
That's funny.
Yeah, because
that's
everybody had
actually
something to
kind of
do, but I
genius.
didn't. Right? Everybody had somewhere to
Yeah.
go or whatever, and I was like, that chaos just made me calm for some reason.
That's
Yeah,
hot take.
yeah.
That's
We've taken it.
honestly, that's genius because
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
like,
yeah,
best 2 best places to people watch.
yep. No,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah,
Or
good ideas.
Airport?
Las Vegas casinos.
Yo, yeah.
Best people
Yes.
watching in the world. Like,
Well,
Yes.
and then there's levels to that. You can go to Reno. You can go to like all these other like
mm,
Indian casinos
Yeah,
that are
like
just
really, really back out there
Yeah.
casinos where you got the
yeah.
hard timers.
Yeah. We've taken an hour of your time, so thank you. This was
Yes.
awesome to get to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah.
Likewise, thank you guys so much. What a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
And you have to come back on the next thing, and maybe we'll get the doc and we can come back and visit about that because I'm super excited to see it.
Yeah, me too.
Where can everybody find you, find your stuff, and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I'm, Chelsea Christer on Instagram. I have a website. I used to be on other platforms like X and Facebook, but no longer. I mean, I think that they might still be there, but ignore them. Instagram's the only thing that's active. You can check out our film, Out for Delivery Film on Instagram, and I think Blue Sky. I don't know. My best friend Aurora is taking care of our social media stuff because I am very bad at it. So, but they're updating everything there. And then,
And you can watch the
yeah,
full film? The full film's
oh,
available?
yeah.
Yeah?
So, Bleeding Audio is available to watch on Tubi, and I think, and you can rent it on iTunes. Renting it is very nice if you choose to, but if you can't
Please
afford it, I
support.
understand.
Yeah.
You can stream it on Tubi. And then Out for Delivery will be coming to a festival near you. We've got, I think, like 10 more that are confirmed, and then a few more that haven't been announced, and more to come.
And then it's
So
behind the
we'll see.
curtain. It's behind the curtain until you get done with the festival run, or?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yay,
So it'll be out there
amazing.
soon.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, thanks
Awesome.
so
Thank you,
much for
guys.
coming on.
And
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.